Your greatest weapon is your mind. A great samurai quote that I have up in my dojo where I train. Because your mind can be your greatest weapon, your greatest ally, but it can also be your greatest enemy and your greatest threat. The power of the mind, the power of your word will determine your actions, and your actions will determine your results. And that is what today's Kman is all about, in the beautiful Queenstown, here on the lake, looking down the gorge, hearing and watching the rolling waves. So if you're listening to this in audio, that noise in the background is the crashing waves on the beach that I'm at. So let's have a look at your mind and how that is your compass that determines your destination, because your words determine your thoughts, and your thoughts determine your actions, and your actions determine your habits, and your habits determine your character, and your character determines your destiny. And many times in life we can go off compass. We get lost in the oceans of life, where we get pushed around by the tides in the ocean. We don't have a rudder, we don't have a compass, we don't have an engine. So today's about creating a rudder, creating an engine, and having a compass to make sure that you achieve what you want to achieve, get to the place you want to get to, but most importantly, be the person that you want to be. And I've been on this planet now for going on 60 years. I've been an exercise professional for going on 40 years, been in business for going on 34 years, and I've seen a lot, not as much as some, but more than others. And I've observed certain things in my journey. What I have observed in this era of time, that there is, even though there is massive opportunity, the world is in its best place it's ever been when it comes to opportunity, when it comes to health and wellness, and when it comes to peace. And yeah, there's always going to be wars, there's always going to be cyclones and bushfires, there's always going to be hassles. But it's far better than it was in the medieval days, it was far better than the caveman days, and it was far better than it was, say, 60, 70, 80 years ago, in terms of the opportunity and the choices that you have, because we have lots of choices. But unfortunately, if you don't take control of those choices, life will take control of those choices, and they may not have much chosen for you. Because today, being an exercise professional dealing with physical and mental health, I'm now exposed to mental health challenges when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to depression, comes to suicide, comes to going into that dark place that people find themselves in and not being able to get out. I was talking to someone today who works in that field, and they are as busy as ever, considering what's happened in the last couple of years. It's just gone crazy. And despite what is happening externally with, hey, the sun is still up, the sky is still blue, the waves are still rolling, the birds are still flying. Yeah, if you look around, life is fantastic. However, internally, it could be dark, it could be negative, it could be soul destroying. And how do you find you get yourself, how do you get yourself in that place, but more importantly, how do you get yourself out? Now, I'm no psychologist, I'm no psychiatrist, and I don't pretend to be. I'm just a person who I believe is one of the most positive people in the world. Anyone who knows me will say, hey, I don't know anyone as positive as Kman. And people ask me, says, how come you're always positive? I says, well, what's the alternative? Now, whether that's been taught or that's genetic, I think it's a combination. But I think ultimately it's a choice, because one thing I know is that if you're negative, negativity doesn't produce positive actions. So if you want positive results, then you have to go back to the wiring of your mind and start to think positive and look for the silver lining, look for the bright side of life, as the song goes. And that in itself is like any skill, it needs to be developed. And you need to be consciously aware of it. Learning processes of, a lot of time people are unconsciously incompetent, means they don't know what they don't know, then they become consciously incompetent, means they know what they don't know, then they become consciously competent, means they're thinking about it and they know what they need to do and they start doing it, and then eventually that becomes unconscious competence, means you just naturally do it anyway. So whatever phase you're in, what's the first important thing is to be awakened or be conscious about where you're at and conscious of where you want to be. And that will require a mental mind shift. It will mean you need to start thinking differently, speaking differently. So let's go back to the inner compass is how you think, your mindset, your thoughts. And I'll go through a process which I was fortunate to be taught in my earlier years of my life that really have set me up to be in control of my compass rather than let life control the compass, which can take you off course mentally and physically at any particular stage. And that starts with words. Now, words are a powerful thing because words is what you say to other people, words are what people say to you, and more importantly, it's what you listen to, because you can easily be convinced of neither or either, or light and dark, or right or wrong through the process of words. That's how we learn, and that's how we structure and base our beliefs on, and that becomes eventually our convictions, and then that will determine our destination. So be very selective in the choice of words that you use, whether it be verbally or the words you use mentally, the words that you say and the words that you hear. Because what is between your ears is this amazing software of a computer program. And you can rewire it and you can reprogram it any way you want. And unfortunately, many times people in life, their wiring and their programming of their mind is determined by other haphazard things or other people or their upbringing. But at any time, you can downgrade your current software and upgrade your new software to create a different output. We do that with our computers. We always look for the new version of my Apple phone or the new version of Microsoft because I want a better version, and the one that I'm having is not working, then I just dispose of it and I upload a better version. And you can do that with your mind because that is what determines the outcomes. It's the software that drives the hardware. It's your mindset that determines where your body takes it. Your body will only go where your mind will allow it. So if you find yourself in a negative place, a dark place, an inappropriate place, a place that you don't want to be, then the first starting point is to start to get out of yourself, to look back in on yourself and say, okay, where am I? Where do I want to be? And who do I have to become to get out of this? And what do I have to start saying? How I have to start thinking? And what do I have to start doing to get myself out of this position? So these are just some, how can you say, tools that can be useful for you to accelerate your current projection if you're on the right path, or get you back on track and then accelerate you to the right place. So your words are very, very important. Be wise in the words that you choose to use to yourself and to others, and words that you choose to accept from other people. And hey, I can just see there's a change in that atmosphere because the sun is setting as it always does, and it makes even the scenery even more beautiful. So a lot of people will, it's how you view the world. Some people will look out the window and say, hey, what a beautiful sunset. And other people look out the window and say, hey, look at the dirty window. It's the same situation. 10 people can see the same situation and can see different things. Some people will look at this and say, oh, it's a bit windy and the water's rough and it's a bit cold, and they look at all the negative things. Or you can look at it and go, hey, look at the beautiful sunset, isn't it cool that the waves are coming in, it's windy, it's great for flying kites, and I'm just happy to be alive. Because as far as I know is that we only get one shot at life. And yesterday I heard some news from a family friend. One of my family have passed away, and yes, that is sad, but that is life. We all die, but do you live is the ultimate question. We all die, but do you live the way you want to live? You only get one shot at it. And when you live, it's important that you live to the best that you possibly can with the resources that you have. So let's go back to words, and the great saying, whether you think you can or can't, you're right, by the great Henry Ford, who started Ford Motor Cars. Your mindset will set the course of your life, and that starts with words. So choose positive words. Rather than saying, I can't do that, say, how can I do that? Because if you say, I can't do that, that's a full stop, means that's it, I can't, and you give up because you say you can't. Therefore, there's no more thought process into how you can do it. But if you ask yourself, how can I do that? Then your mind keeps churning and think, okay, well, how can I do that? And it starts to activate, and the computer starts to turn on and start to find all different solutions, and eventually you start to see a path forward of how you can do that. So if you say it's too hard versus saying, hey, this is going to make me better, make me stronger, make me more skillful, make me more knowledgeable, make me more successful, rather than saying it's too hard, say I just have to get stronger, I have to get smarter. So same situation, different vocabulary. If that person, you say that person really upset me, well, they didn't upset you, they are just who they are, and you allowed them to upset you by how you respond to that. So rather than say that person is rude, you may say, hey, that person, they're fascinating. So now they're not necessarily rude to you, they're just a rude person. You find that fascinating and actually interesting. So rather than saying I'm frustrated, say I'm fascinated, because frustrated means it turns you up. Fascinated means you're curious. Well, that's an odd behaviour. Let me have a closer look at that. Oh, that's funny. So it sort of distances you mentally and emotionally from that situation. If you say I'm broke, well, of course you're broke, because you just made that statement. So if you say you are, you will keep being are, and you continue to be are, rather than saying I'm broke, saying how can I get wealthy? I'm unhappy, rather than how can I become happy? What can I do? So look for what we call solutions rather than focusing on the problem. A lot of people are problem solvers, and some people are problem makers. Be a problem solver, and rather calling it a problem, call it a challenge. It's a better way, more positive way, because a challenge is, are you up for the challenge versus are you up for the problem? No, that sort of doesn't get you activated. That's you going, oh geez, I don't like problems, but I like challenges. Same situation, different vocabulary, because your vocabulary will determine how you react to something. It means your reaction is normally a negative thing, where you act emotionally, versus respond to something with responsibility, means you're responding with your ability. So there are many word choices that you can make for all aspects of life, and look at how can I reword or get a better word, or a positive word, or a word that turns into a question with a solution that I may not have the answer now, but it'll activate my wiring, my computer between my ears to start to seek for the answer, to find the solution to overcome this challenge, or get out of this hole, or find that opportunity, or attract that money, or whatever it might be. And if you do that and think, who do I have to become, and how do I have to think, and how do I have to speak? There's a great saying, be before you are, and you will become. So be before you are. So if you want to be happy, start being happy, thinking happy, talking happy, doing happy things, and then over time you start to rewire your mind, rewire your physiology, your endocrine system, your muscular system, your nervous system. All of that will start to reconnect and start to become in alignment to support each other rather than clash with each other. Now, it may sound so, well, that can't be true, that's too simple. Well, a lot of the times the solution is simple. You just have to be conscious of it and continue to apply it until it becomes a habit, until it just becomes a part of you. Because if you keep going down the path you are, where are you going to be in the future? And if you're down the wrong path, then you have to start changing your mindset, changing your vocabulary, changing your actions. And if you do that, you start to reset your sail, reset your rudder, reset according to your compass, and then start to fire the engine. And because when you start going towards your goal, you start to feel better about yourself. So when you look at your life, look at all the things you want to change, and then start to speak differently of them. So the words that you use are not just important to how you express to the world, but you say them, you're listening to them. So if someone says to me, how are you, Kman? I says, I'm fantastic and I'm improving. And I say that a lot of the time. And even if the things around me are not fantastic, I'm still fantastic. Why? Because I'm alive. There's a good starting point. And if I have challenges, well, that's a part of life. So if I have challenges, hey, isn't that's called sign of life. I have a beautiful little dog called Brutus. He's 21 years of age, or going on 21 now. And he's obviously very old. That's equivalent to maybe 140 years of age. And he does things now that could irritate others, but they bring joy to my life. And as I say to Ro, when he does a fart, or he pees inside, or poos on the step, or he growls and barks all night because he's old and grumpy and he's blind and he's deaf and he's doing all that, I go, how cool is that? That's called sign of life. Now, most people would find that annoying. Oh, my dogs keep me up at night because they're whinging or barking, or they peed on the carpet, or they pooed on the kitchen floor, or whatever it might be. To me, I find that sign of life. That's what life's all about. He's living, he's farting, that's sign of life. He's barking, that's sign of life. Yes, he's peeing, he's drinking, that's sign of life. Isn't that awesome? Because that's the alternative. He's going to die soon. And all those little things I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss that barking when he goes up to the puppy heaven with my other puppies I've had in the past. I'm going to miss cleaning up his pee and his poo. I'm going to miss all those things that will annoy some but bring joy to my life, because he's 140. Now when he was 1 or 2 or 3, then yes, I would reprimand him. I would discipline him to pee outside or whatever it might be, to make my life a little bit easier. But when you're 140 years of age, human years to dog years, then hey, I'm just happy that he's still here. And if you take that approach to everything in your life and look at the bright side of life, the good side of life, the positive side of life, because if you always take positive actions and positive thoughts and a positive mindset, overall you're going to have a positive life. And myself and Rory, we are the happiest, most positive people in the world. There may be people as positive, but no more positive. And why? That's not because it's something we're born with, it's something that we chose. And like every discipline, you have to apply it and you condition it and it becomes a part of you, because your mind is like a muscle. It needs to be trained and constantly trained all the time. So be very careful and selective and wise in the words that you use. So before you speak or respond or react to any situation, I like to call it the pause. Pause, think about what you're going to say, reword it or reframe it in a positive way before you say it. Don't just spontaneously say things. So sometimes the wrong thing will come out of your mouth and you'll be eating your words. You end up with your foot in your mouth, your own foot. And if you say it, you'll start to believe it. So change what you say and you'll change what you believe, and you change what you think, and you change your thoughts, because ultimately your life is lived in the ocean of your own thoughts. And how do you condition your thoughts? You change your vocabulary and expand your vocabulary as well. There's a great study looked at prisoners in a high security prison, and they had the most violent, they studied the most violent prisoners, the aggressive ones and the ones not so violent, and they studied their mindset and their vocabulary, and they found the ones who were most violent had a smaller vocabulary range. They had a smaller vocabulary to choose from, and the ones who were less violent had a greater vocabulary, because words are sometimes the way we express our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts to ourselves, but also to the outside world. So if you have a limited vocabulary and you can't express how you feel, you can get agitated, you get aggravated, you can get frustrated, and you become violent and aggressive because you can't express it. But if you have more words to, how can you say, articulate your thoughts and articulate your feelings to yourself first and the world, then that will tend to put things into perspective. And I've been working with some colleagues lately, getting them out of some dark places and some challenges that they're having. And when I lay it all on the table and I start to articulate everything they share with me, and I paraphrase it back and I word it differently, when I put it out on the table and I break it all down, they go, well, really, things aren't that bad after all, are they? Geez, I was just overreacting with my emotions to a situation. And I always thought of the negative side of things rather than what can I take out of this, what are the lessons and what are the things that I can use to make myself better, and whether make the situation better or move on to the situation to a better situation. So your words are vital, they are critical to this great computer, and also the reputation that you express to the world. So if you say something which is nasty or detrimental or bad or something, then hey, you start to develop a reputation with the outside world of who you are. Well, that's that nasty person, or that's that rude person, or that's that angry person, or that's that panicky person. So re-articulate all of those words in your mind before you express them to the world, because when you re-articulate them in a positive way, it settles you down before you share it with the world. If you go out the old saying, if you've got nothing good to say nothing at all. Great lesson I learned from my mother. So even though I may have thought negatively about something, I kept it in and I massaged it around and I reformatted. I started seeing the bright side of life, the silver lining. I restructured it before I expressed it. And that in itself was a therapeutic process for me internally to rewire my mind before I express it to the world, and that stopped me from saying inappropriate things that would give me a poor reputation when I say things that may not be appropriate purely by emotion. And when you do that, you're going to find yourself in a better place, a good place, a positive place, and more positive, most positive place. And that's really important. And when you think positive and you speak positive, and then you be careful of who you hang out with. So if you're hanging out with negative people, then it's very hard to combat that negativity coming in. So be very careful with the people that you hang out with. So you may need to change your team. The people in your life is your team. The high performance, loving, caring, positive team. And if you have someone on that team that is compromising, the values and the philosophies and the culture of the team, you may need to coax that person off your team. And it can be challenging when that person might be family or close. Therefore, you have to limit your exposure to them and not give them ammunition to criticize you. Because a lot of time people are very fearful of criticism from others. Well, what people think of you is none of your business anyway. It's what you think of you that's most important, because you're the one who lives with yourself 24/7 in your own, in the ocean of your own thoughts. But very careful that, yes, you can be influenced from outside sources, whether it be people, whether it be the media. A lot of people watch the news. The news is always bad news. And they listen to the radio, and the radio is all about gossip and negativity and drama, and they try to get you hooked by fear, because the best way to get people hooked onto things is to scare the living daylights out of them, and they walk around in constant anxiety and fear because they're listening to fearful, anxious things on the TV, on the media, hanging out with negative people. So that's one thing I will share with you. I don't do negative. So if someone is negative in my life, they won't stay in my life very long, because I don't need that negative influence in my life. We have a population of 7 billion people in the world. I don't need you in my life. My life is not dependent upon you. I'd rather be alone and love myself and have everyone hate me than be with everyone and have everyone love me and me hate me. I'd rather be that way, because that's where I live in here. I'd rather be alone rather than in a group and lonely. So choose your words. That will rewire your thinking, will rewire your mind. And your mindset is your compass, and that will determine your direction towards your goals, towards your dreams, towards the life that you want to live. And that is your compass. And then you have to follow that up with obviously your actions, because your words will determine your thoughts, and then you start to take actions on those thoughts, those positive actions. Always take positive actions on those positive thoughts that come from your positive words, and that's going to lead to a positive result and a positive outcome and a positive a destination for you. So there's some simple little things that you can use. I feel that the most important thing in life is your mind, and then you can also work from the outside in. You can change your mind with positive actions, because if you take positive actions, that's connected to the mind as well. You always feel good when you take a positive action, because you start to think positive, because motion creates emotion. Positive motion creates positive emotion. So if you're proactive in your emotions and your action, you create positive emotion that makes you feel better. That means you want to do more and more. So positive actions. On the other hand, if you do negative actions, then that's going to lead to negative emotions, and that will go down that negative spiral, down into that little dark hole. But how do you unwind yourself? Just change it around and start winding your way back up with positive actions, with positive emotions, and then you're going to be in that positive place. So work on both ends, the mind and the body. I'm an exercise professional, so big believer in how exercise changes your mindset, and we now know from thousands of published research studies that the greatest intervention to change your mental mindset in a positive way is high intensity interval exercise, whether it be strength training or high intensity interval cardiovascular training. Most important, yes, it's good to go for a walk on the seashore and pick up seashells, but that doesn't condition your body at the level of intensity that stimulates your body physiologically, that stimulates the hormonal system to release the right hormones and chemicals in the brain that turns you into a positive thinking person, where you have all those. There's a chemical called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a fertilizer to the brain, and the best way to stimulate that in the body is doing high-intensity exercise. And research now shows that in itself is beneficial, even more so than doing pharmaceutical interventions in fighting against anxiety, negative thoughts, suicidal thoughts, even depression, and even going down the path of even Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. So yes, work from both ends, the mind and the body together. Completely condition the mind, and while you condition the body, and both will come together and have a perfect storm effect, because you're working from both ends, not just one end out, from the mind out to the body, or the body back into the mind. But you be conscious of both. Conscious of your positive words, conscious of your positive thoughts, conscious of your positive actions. And those positive actions will feed back to reinforce the positive thoughts and the positive words, and your words will push back and reinforce the positive thoughts and the positive actions. So they both from the inside and the outside. And if you do that, your life is going to be fantastic, irrespective of where you are, what's happening around you, what challenges you have, because in your mind, you're always going to be in a great place. So hope that's been helpful. See you in the next Kman.